This week on the Uninteresting Car Show,
I have another complaint about a Nissan product, but hey, at least I drove it this time.
we talk about car news from the French to Toyota,
We talk through some interesting things that we could possibly import again.
and the Cadillac of all car manufacturers, Suzuki.
But of course, stick around.
Jag åkte ner till Stockholm och då fick jag se glänsande Porschar och BMW. Men jag har en kärra som är bättre ändå, det är en Volvo 142.
Let's jump right into it.
Alright, I got a rental car this weekend. I say this
yes,
weekend, it was for the past week. I want to complain about it. What's new? So, I should probably start that over and be more angry. Fuck Infiniti!
Well, yeah, guess what car we're upset about today? It's a Nissan, but not really.
Here's the thing. All right, let me set the scene for you. My car recently, if you watched our video podcast, which aside from that, we were just trying out a format, but it does kind of live up to the name of the Uninteresting Car Show. If you can make it through it, props to you. It was a new style. We got no fucking footage, or not footage. We got nothing to talk about in that one. It just, if you can make it through it, make it through it. Hope you enjoy it. We might try it again. We'll do better. Anyway, I digress. So basically, I mentioned during that that my car had a bunch of hail damage because, again, pretty big weather here in Texas. But anyway, it went off about a week ago to get fixed.
Big weather.
Huh?
We have the biggest weather here in Texas.
Yeah, as the Trumpster would say. Oh, with the biggest weather. I can't do a Trump impression, but you get the point. All right, that's what a great way to start a fucking Trump impression. But anyway, what we have cut all of this out. Anyway, no, just that part where I go. Whoa. Anyway, it went away for about a week to get fixed. A lot of damage done to a lot of damage. I gotta stop. I'm already.
It's a lot of
I had a Red Bull
damage.
earlier. I'm overexcited. But sorry, trying to get to the point here. It went out and they gave me a rental car. Now let me make this plain. I apparently, I switched insurance companies, got pretty good insurance. I have rental coverage now, which I haven't had before. But let me put it this way. I just want to let you know, I'm a piece of shit. There's no reason for me to get a premium, quote unquote, class rental, but that's what they gave me. And, I put in my little Golf diesel into the shop, and then they go, here, have a Infiniti Q50. Now then, this is where we get to the complaining. Wow, me complaining about a Nissan product, imagine that. Here's the thing. So, David, pay attention. Get off your phone.
Okay, this is now new stuff, because I have not heard your complaints about this.
So here's the thing. I looked at the car, and you look at it, you go, wow, it's like a 3 Series, 5 Series type size. It's in between. It's a bigger car. It's nice. It's got a 3-liter turbo, or a twin turbo engine, very nice automatic transmission. And you walk up to it, and you go, decent looking car. And I'll be honest, I was like, yeah, it's an Infiniti product. I know I've made jokes and kind of complained about Nissan in general and their drivers, stuff like that. I saw this car. I've never driven one before, and I really, really, genuinely wanted to like it. However, I then got into the car, was driving around town, and I was like, why is this so difficult to drive? Why does it seem like I'm just not connected to the road? Why is it so insulated? I was like, I know it's a luxury car, quote unquote, whatever. The Infiniti Q50 to drive feels like driving a racing game with a wheel with no force feedback. Now then, I know that's not even hyperbole.
The steering rack is with bungee cords.
No,
made of bungee cords.
Here's the other thing. Here, let me go into. I'm gonna give you all the bad points I don't like about this car. And I know it's conceited. I can afford one, whatever. But I'll just start at the basics. Okay, it's got a 3-liter twin turbocharged V6 engine and a 7-speed, very good automatic transmission. The drivetrain, I'm gonna be honest, is fantastic. There's very little turbo lag. It's very fast. Even that's the base model.
I
didn't
know it was turbocharged. That's crazy.
They replaced the old VQs with. It's a new type of VQ, but it's already in the Q60. There's a version that makes 400 horsepower. Ooh. It's gonna make its way into the new Z car. It's honestly, wherever they're going with that,
Z car.
Well, eventually, whenever they get to it, it's only been 13 years.
Z car eventually.
Yeah, whatever. But anyway, I got into this car and I was like, drivetrain, honestly, bang on, really, really good.
Okay.
The issue I have with the car is then I was kind of driving around and you're on the interior. Now then, kind of a bit of a backstory. A lot of Japanese manufacturers, if you don't know this already, will kind of sell their, what they call in here in the US, their premium car or their prestige cars as the normal brand back home. So a lot of Lexuses are sold as Toyotas. Mm-hmm. And with Nissan, the same kind of thing. A lot of Infinitis are sold as Nissan. So overseas, this is actually the current Nissan Skyline.
Yeah.
And I
yeah.
was like, cool, because you look at the photos of that, I think it looks a bit better as a Skyline. I'm kind of going off topic here, but I was like, I really wanted to like the car. The problem for me is you get in the interior, it's got vinyl in the sense that I don't mind fake leather in interiors because it lasts so much longer than any kind of other leather because you don't have to treat it and all this stuff. But the problem is it's so obviously fake. It looks like plastic. It feels like plastic. It's this kind of thing. The head unit's weird. It's got dual screens, one of which doesn't do anything. One of them, it's got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, stuff like that. It's nice. It's just like, it's this kind of weird middle of the ground where I feel like some of the interiors on like up-trim Nissan Maximas are nicer than this. And that kind of annoyed me because the reason that annoyed me is I went and looked at the price for this car. It was a base model 2020 Nissan or Infiniti Q50 3-liter turbo rear-wheel drive. It's a $40,000 car, and it is as near as makes no difference $40K. I think it's like $37,500 with destination, but by the time you add TT&L and anything else, any other fees at the dealership, it's a $40,000 car. And it's just, I really, really wanted to like the car, but the problem is, and this is kind of like what everything hinges on, it has drive-by-wire steering.
Okay.
Which means there is no physical connection from the steering wheel to the front wheels at all.
It genuinely is.
It is genuinely electronic.
A racing, like,
exactly.
wheel.
Now then, the problem with that is whenever you're driving it around, you have no feedback from the road. So you're kind of going over something. You're not really sure where the wheels are. It's this kind of thing. And I really, like, I had it for a week. And I was like, I can get used to it. You know, like, I can get used to it. It's probably this kind of thing. I had it for a week. I think I put almost, like, 1,500 miles on the thing.
Okay.
I couldn't get used to it. Now, maybe that's just me. The reason, like, I don't like the system, from a technological standpoint, very impressive. The fact that they're able to do that, it's able to be reliable enough. In the event of, like, a system failure, it does have a conventional, like, shaft that will basically, I think,
they have to do that.
Yeah, for regulations. But an explosive bolt will fire and it'll shove it into the thing, so you can still have steering.
That's fun.
So it's set up, although it seems a bit one-time use to me. Which means to me, it's like if you ever have to shut it down emergency on the road, it's going to shut it. You know what I mean? You hold the push to start button, and it shuts the car off. The electrics are gone. I imagine it just fires the bolt.
Oh, I don't know.
I didn't want to try because it was a rental.
Yeah, maybe that's how you improve the handling.
That could be it. That could be what you do. But anyway, it's just, with that in mind, I was like, okay, if you don't care about cars, if you're not that interested in driving, but you want something that is, you know, a quote-unquote prestige brand, it makes sense. But it's just, the problem for me is the price, the amount of money it costs to get a car that's kind of like doesn't know what it is. So when you're driving it around slowly, it's honestly very smooth. Like, the transmission's very well spoken, for lack of a better term. It makes a good amount of power. You know, it gets out of its own way very quickly. You put it in sport mode, it does this. The steering is just numb. And it's kind of like, and I don't say this much, and I'm not trying to be like, say this with any kind of hyperbole. It's kind of scary. Because I was driving around some very heavy rain. Again, Texas weather is really hit or miss. But it's kind of like you're going around a corner at low speeds. You don't know where the wheels are. You can't tell if it's understeering or sliding. You get no feedback. And it kind of makes you anxious.
You know,
I just was like, it wasn't fun to have. It's not something I would buy.
That's an interesting point, because it's like, you know, are people scared of airplanes? Because, like, the death in airplanes is lower than the death in cars, right?
Yes.
People are scared of airplanes because they're not in control, right?
Yes.
It's just kind of like, their hands are off the wheel, whatever happens, happens. But it's like, now cars are so electronically controlled, that's kind of what it's going to be now as well, is like, the person isn't in control anymore. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, do you trust all the electronics that are good and they probably have a better response time than the driver, or do you trust yourself more? And it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm being old about this, but like, that is kind of a scary feeling. It's like, you know, in that kind of rain thing, you're just hoping the traction control takes care of you and like the stability control.
And I'm hoping, the other thing is it's a rear-wheel drive car. So if you're sideways in the rain, even if it's just accidentally, which I did, you're like, where do I correct to? Because you get no feedback from the road. Which from a comfort standpoint makes a lot of sense. If you're going down the highway and you're going on a long journey, because the wheel is not connected to anything, there's no vibration in it.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, it makes sense. The other thing that I don't understand from their Nissan's kind of standpoint is they go, oh, well, it'll be really great for autonomous vehicles. A couple of things wrong with that to me. Tesla, any other brand that has autonomous driving, has done absolutely fine with the current setup where there's just an electric motor on the steering column, where it's like, you know, your normal electric power steering, which is a standard now. And it's like, it makes sense. They've done fine with that. The problem with this is, like, it's heavy, Or it's not necessarily heavy. Okay, here's what they're doing. They're taking a lot of load off the engine because there's no hydraulic pump. They already did that with electric power steering. There's no reason. They've got all this electric motor stuff in the front, which makes sense because it's steer-by-wire. Mm-hmm. So they do that. The problem is, with the regulations currently, they still have to have another steering column in there, which means you're not saving any weight. If anything, you're adding weight because you have to have twice the amount of things. The other thing is, if our other makers are doing fine with their other systems, why do they need to do this? And then kind of to take that further... kind of to take that another step further, another thing they said was, it gives you more customization and customizability with, like, the steering feel. Again, every other car maker, you can make it lighter or heavier with the same thing, but it is still connected to the wheels.
Electric, yeah.
So you can kind of do that anyway. And then another problem I have with it is it's like, caster and kind of front wheels, where that's basically how it turns back, how it straightens itself up. It doesn't have that. It does and it doesn't, because think about it.
That could be good.
Okay, here's what I say. It doesn't have it in the sense that, realistically, in reality, there's no physical connection coming back to the wheel.
Oh.
But the car does do it synthetically. But with that, and because it's electric motors and it's computers and stuff, if you just move the wheel like a tiny bit, sometimes you have to move it a bit more to get a reaction. Like if you're at low speeds and stuff like that, there's a bit more, there's like play kind of in the wheel like you would have in a typical car.
That is interesting.
But it's not. And then, with that in mind, whenever you're coming out of a corner, it doesn't want to straighten up as much because it's synthetic. Like I said, it's motors pushing back, and then you kind of get you just have to do more. You're doing less, but you're also doing more.
I think in a rear-wheel drive car, you need that caster. You need that really good self-righting feedback in case you need a counter steer.
That's
a genuine safety thing.
To me,
you
it's the same
need
thing.
to be able to counter steer.
Yeah,
and not even just like drifting around curves and stuff. Like if you lose control, that is how you gain your control back.
Exactly, and that's why I was like, I'm not sure about it. Now then, okay, I'll give it. I don't like the car. I think it's a stupid amount of money for what you get interior-wise. I know it's an older design, but still, the interior design is very like dated feeling. Feels like a Nissan. The steering is just the downfall of that car. If it had a normal rack, I think it'd be really good because the engine's sound, transmission's really good. Even though it's the base model, it didn't have like paddle shifters, but it's got a good center shifter thing.
Okay.
I did do a bit more research into this. So they have a 400 horsepower variant of it in the coupe and the sedan, the Q60 and the Q50, and they actually give you the option because they got a lot of flack for it when it first came out. They do give you the option to put a conventional rack in there.
Oh, nice.
So that's actually good.
Okay.
Which brings it, I'm like, this could actually be a really cool car. And then again, once you jump up to I think it's called the 400 Sport. So same engine, makes 400 horsepower instead of around 300. You get paddle shifters, which are really good. The transmission reacts very well. You get normal steering. The interiors are a lot nicer. They use a lot more real materials. Like they do put real carbon fiber on it, stuff like that. Yeah. This one had a bunch of like fake plastic metal stuff, and it just didn't feel like the kind of like car you'd buy for that much money. Because it's like if you're going to spend 38 to 40K on a car and you wanted something like that, why wouldn't you go buy a Stinger? Because the ones for that amount of money, you get more power, you get a very, very well-tuned chassis. Because I've driven a couple of them, and I know we mentioned it before, they've got BMW's old M-Boss in there doing stuff. They're really well built. Now you get more space. The interior's even nicer. It's much better laid out. I know it's a Kia. I know it's kind of a badge thing, but it's a car that doesn't quite make sense. And again, with the whole ride thing, at low speeds it's fine. It's very smooth. High speeds. Let me change that. But at high speeds it's very smooth. But at low speeds it's kind of this weird dichotomy where you put it in normal mode on the transmission engine. It's very smooth, very relaxed. The steering notwithstanding, but you don't feel a lot of stuff. So it's a nice car in that sense. But then the problem is it has like sport tuned suspension.
Yeah.
Which whenever you kind of have a real soft riding chassis, but you're feeling every bump in the road through the chassis as well, it doesn't really make sense. Like is it trying to be a sports sedan or like a luxury cruiser? So I maybe it's just not the sweet spot on the range, but I would not buy one of these with money. I consider the like fast one, the 400R Sport thing. That's pretty cool. Normal rack, big power, paddle shifters, very much like a lot better interior. And then secondhand, they're a lot less money, and you get Nissan reliability out of that too. And it's kind of all this stuff. It's just it was a very odd experience to drive that car.
I don't know. Like I feel like the how do they call it? The disconnected drive-by-wire kind of thing. I feel like that's like solving a problem that didn't need solving. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like you're trying to recreate all the sensations of the drive. Why not just actually have it connected?
It's cheaper. It's easier. It's less expensive.
I'm not complaining about electric racks. Electric racks are fine. They really feel great. Like now, like they provide as much like force feedback. They're customizable. They're fine. There's nothing wrong with electric racks in my opinion. I think both. It's like the drive-by-wire. Yeah, I know the Fiesta does. The Miata, of course, is hydraulic.
Yeah. But yeah, the steer-by-wire thing. It's very. Okay, here's the thing. If they're going to keep doing this, which I assume they are, if you're going to put all this money into developing it, I imagine they keep going. If they are able to make it be that synthetic and make it where it is as good as, like electric, power steering is today, then more power to them. But the thing is, it's like they've been making this for 7 years. I know they're not doing a bunch of development on it or updates throughout, but it's one of those things where I'm really not sure if that's the way to go. Now that if they are saying for autonomous cars, I get it. If you're going to have a car with no steering wheel in it, makes sense. We're so far away from that, though. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
I think from a safety standpoint, it's just not the best idea.
No.
Just because it's like, I think that caster and the self-righting, and like not even self-righting to the center, it needs to self-right to whatever direction it's going.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I think that needs to stay in cars, and I think it's like legitimately it's a safety thing.
I did say at one point, I was driving with some people, we went to go eat, and I was like, similarly geared to David and I was like, what do you think of it, whatever. I wanted to make sure I wasn't just being obtuse, and and they were like, it's really hard to drive. It is genuinely like a thing you have to get used to, and even I try to get used to it, like I said, but I do remember saying at some point, I was kind of pissed off, just, whatever, and I was like, I don't know how this is allowed to be sold in this way, because it feels so disconnected and so disconcerting to drive. And it's a weird thing because like it's a nicer car than my Golf, but I was like, I'd like my Golf back, and I realized it is a Golf. It's just a car. It's very basic car, but they did a good job on it as far as economy hatchbacks go. I like it. It was a really weird experience. We can move on from this, but it's just like one of those things where the other thing, one more complaint, it's $40K, no heated seats, no blind spot monitoring, no active cruise control. I think it'll stop itself if you get close to someone. Actually, it will do that, because I was driving around my neighborhood at night one time, and I went back to my parents' place I went to eat with them and see them, and I was driving around a corner at night, and it's pretty rural, so there's a lot of spacing, but mailboxes are close to the road. It thought one of those was in the road and tried to slam on the brakes more than one occasion. So I don't know, the calibration of that system's not very good either.
So it's weird because they put all this development into the drive-by-wire thing, and that's on the base model car.
Yeah.
And then they don't have heated seats and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like that drive-by-wire should be like a luxury option, even though it sucks.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's just a weird dichotomy of it. It's like it's
put
a
your
car
expense
that doesn't...
somewhere else. Like,
it's a car that doesn't really know what it is to me. I'm pretty sure it was a base model regardless. It didn't have a lot of stuff, and the pricing for the base model is $40K, and it still doesn't have that.
You know what I'm glad about this for? That I would look at Infinitis and be like, I wouldn't have one. I think they're mostly shit. But I didn't really have any basis for that. You know what I mean? Now you've confirmed my thoughts.
Well, the thing was...
so now I don't feel bad.
It just sucked because I saw it and I was like, it's like a 3 Series, IS competitor. I was like, it'd probably be pretty good. I genuinely...
I was worried you were actually going to like it as a thing.
I really wanted to like it.
And then we'd have to change our stance on Nissan. And I'm like, we can't do this. It's a conservative podcast.
It's just like, I really, really wanted to like that car, and it just didn't meet expectations, and it was kind of upset me. I also had to have it a lot longer than I thought, but
unfortunate.
Nonetheless. All right, we'll move on from this.
Okay.
Do you want some car news before you go into whatever?
Sure.
All right. I've just got a slew of things. I'm going to read these off. This is like 2 weeks of this because we've got a weird upload schedule with that long video we did. Anyway, I'm just going to run through some things. They're doing a V8 Lexus IS with the 5-liter they have.
What?
I think it's going to be like a one-off.
Oh, no way.
However, I don't know how long they're going. I don't know that much about it. However, it's kind of a good and bad thing. The sadder thing about that is it's going to be Lexus's, the 5.0 they're putting in, I think the LC 500 and some other cars. That is the last naturally aspirated V8 Lexus Toyota will ever make.
I mean, what a good way for it to go out.
If they put it in
IS.
that's an insane, fuck the ISF. God. That's going to be even
I wonder
better.
How much that's going to cost.
I don't know. I don't know that much about it.
I bet secondhand that would be pretty expensive too.
Because the old ISF, which I think also had a V8, the old one, that one was, I think they're actually okay to buy. And again, you get Lexus reliability compared to like an M3, which is...
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah,
you know,
put that V8 in there. That's awesome.
So I hope that comes here. We should see that. Again, more Toyota news. They have a little hatchback overseas. It's based on the Yaris, which... so I think it's a different one than the one we get here. But it's called the Grumana. If you've watched Grand Tour, I know they had it on there. It's basically a hot hatch done by...
hot hatch.
It's basically a hot hatch done by their Gazoo Racing thing. We're getting a version or one very like it here in the U.S., in like 2021 or something like that. I think it's going to be based on that new Corolla hatch. It's supposed to make like 260 horsepower.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be a really good hot hatch, so that's coming. Speaking of hot hatches, the new GTI will be coming, the Mark 8, so hell yeah for that. New Stinger, they said they were going to axe it, but then they're giving it a facelift, and then apparently it might come back as an electric car, so we'll see what happens there. Again, sticking with Korea. The Genesis GV70 was seen testing, which is like their baby SUV. I know it's SUV crossover news, who really cares, but that was seen testing on the same chassis that the current one uses, the G70 with the Stinger and everything, so that one should be pretty cool when it comes out. Hyundai N, they're doing a lot more stuff with brands. You know, Hyundai's performance division. We're going to have an Elantra N, which will be kind of like a Jetta GLI, I think, coming soon, which will be pretty good. It'll be proper fast, like the that other thing they make, the Veloster N, that really cool stuff. So some of that's coming with the new Elantra, Sonata, stuff like that. We need to get off Hyundai because that was the most interesting thing we saw when we did the driving around record, so we'll do some more than that. Lotus is coming out with a new car. You know, they've got the Elise, and they have the Evora, which is like a 60K kind of Porsche competitor. They're gonna have... No, Evora's like 80K. They're supposed to come in with like a new... It's going to slot under the Evora, and it's going to be, I think, around 50 to 70K. So I think they said around 60K. Kind of a new mid-level performance car, probably going to take on the Supra and new cars like that. Maybe the Cayman, the 718 Porsche, stuff like that. So
probably still mid-engine.
It should still be mid-engine. I assume we'll get it over here. That kind of makes more sense. We're starting to see more interesting cars. Also, I read something that came out, and they were talking about because of Peugeot's kind of acquisition of Fiat and all that kind of stuff. It looks like we might be seeing French cars come back in a few years, which would be kind of cool. Kind of the same way the Italians came back, which would be really cool.
I feel like no one's gonna buy them.
I really want a Peugeot 508 because it looks very cool. Yeah. And that's kind of all I got. Also, SCCA sent me an email on my birthday saying happy birthday, so good on them, even though I don't really do much with them anymore. But that's kind of all we got for car news. I'm just gonna leave it there. But stuff happening in the world around now.
I feel like no one's gonna buy French cars. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's like, you know, when Korea came to the U.S. with cars, no one bought them, and still people are like...
They were also crap when they came here.
Well, yeah. Okay,
they were all,
so
like,
maybe French cars will come here, and they'll be also crap because they're French. So.
All right, well, there we go.
Just kidding.
They're related to Nissan, so who knows how that's going to go. David, go.
There's a lot of car news, a lot of new cars going on here. This is very off topic, but I feel like I've heard this before, but I watched a video the other day. It was by Vizia Racer. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He always posts like stuff about like really niche like car stuff.
Yeah.
And he was saying like all 9 cars that rotaries were ever put into.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, that is a small list. I expected all of them to be Mazda stuff, but it's not really. There was like a bunch of other cars. Of course, way lower production than Mazda.
NSU did a lot, I know that.
Yeah, NSU.
Before they became Audi.
One that really surprised me was the Lada. There was a rotary engine in the Lada.
There we go.
And the displacement is 1.3 liters. It's the same as the 13B.
Impressive.
And it made, I think it was something around 115 horsepower.
That's pretty good for the time.
Which is, it sounds like shit now, but in Russia, at the time... And like in such a small car like that was probably one of the fastest cars.
Yeah, that's the kind they give to the KGB.
Yeah,
that kind of car.
I don't think it's big enough to carry all the bodies they tried to carry.
Well, of course, yeah, but other than that, great.
Yeah, so cool.
Did it make it to production?
One. Yeah, apparently they sold it. I don't know. I don't know how many went to production. I don't know if it's really rare. I don't know if it's really sought after. I don't know.
There's also a thing, David and I keep looking at Ladas online because we mentioned it like way back one of the first episodes we did, but we quite like to get a few and like bring them back because if you go import them yourself, they're a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
we're trying to figure out countries to import them from. Apparently Azerbaijan or Georgia is one of those two countries has like a shit ton of them, like even more than like some other ex-Soviet territories. You know, there's a bunch in like Europe, Cuba. I thought about the other day. I was like, that's right next door. Depending on the embargoes and where that lies and what you can and can't import, which I don't know enough about.
Did they get Ladas, like, for sure?
They get new Ladas, I know that. I know
really?
They got the old one. Yeah, or they did for a while. I don't know about it anymore.
I know the trading stuff with Cuba has calmed down quite a bit, so we'll see. What is that?
I'm pretty sure that was an automatic Honda Civic.
It sounds like it's about to rattle apart. Did you hear that?
I did.
The buzzing. Anyway.
Again, Honda Civic, same energy.
So yeah, that'd be really cool. Also, switching gears yet again.
Yeah.
The like we were just talking about in the car, how we'll think of a car that we haven't thought of for a while, or specifically if we see one in real life driving by and we're like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Now I want one.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to be obsessed about it for like a week.
Yeah.
What I saw the other day, which I had not cared about this car even a smidgen before, maybe just like a little bit, was the MG MGA, not the
Oh,
MGB.
the baby one.
The like the one before the MGB.
Yeah.
I saw one on the road. I was leaving my neighborhood. It's like this old couple and a really old guy driving his MGA, and the back looks great. The front is kind of meh.
It's a little weird, yeah.
It's like sloped and like got this weird grill, but you know what? From the back, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And the fucking interior, I just got a shock because of course the top's down because it's an MGA, and you know, like this big steering wheel with all these gauges. It looks so British, and I'm like, wow, I really want one of those.
Those are awesome.
They're so cool, and I was like, I'd literally never thought about getting one, but I think they're great.
That's a weekend car if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. Oh,
you don't want to daily that. You don't want to take that
on
hell
no.
I-35 or something.
That'd be
like
terrifying.
Rush hour. But no, those things are great because a friend of my dad's had a. It was one of the first cars I drove that was a manual. Mm-hmm. After I learned on the beautiful Model A that I learned to drive on, which was rough because of non-synchro mesh gears. Which again, Dave and I were talking. We're like, wow, what a concept, synchro mesh gears and stuff like that. It's kind of quite technical, but anyway,
luxuries.
The MGB, like there's a guy that we see around here, around where we live, where he's got one that's very, very nice, and it's MGB GT, so it's like a little shooting brake thing. But apparently, I found on those you can get the later ones with like they kind of had an ugly rubber front bumper because of US standards. You just pop that off and put the old one on there, and it's the same metal underneath. And I was like, those are really cool. And I drove one, and the friend of my dad's, like I said, he just bought it cheap. It was the rubber-nosed one, took all that off, cleaned up the paint, got the engine to run correctly, fixed the rust on it, because it's a British car, you know, they all kind of rust.
Yeah.
And then fixed it. It was a really cool car.
That's awesome.
It's much more interesting than a Miata. As much as I love the Miata, it's a whole kind of...
No, it's definitely like a really cool... Yeah, it's what the Miata was inspired by, basically.
Exactly. It's what the Miata ruined.
Like that. They
ruined it by, like, completely outdoing it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But the fucking... I also hear that those MG engines, you can... So they were... As far as I know, they were not cross-plane. What the fuck is that intake where it goes back out? Like all the intake and the exhaust are on the same side.
Oh, it's on the same side. Oh,
it's the one where it turns around. I don't know. I forget what it's called.
So the intake and exhaust are on the same side of the engine.
Yes.
Which is a stupid design, but you know.
But I believe they had it, and it was just like older cars. They had it like that.
I had
it was
one
easier,
that's like that from the 60s.
It was easier to build like that. I believe all the MGB engines were like that. But I also hear that they make aftermarket cross-plane intakes for them. That are
really the head cool. Where it blows across.
Yeah, where it goes across, like the more modern style. I don't know how much it is, but I was looking at that because I was like, let's make this, you know, using the same engine. Let's see if we can kind of make a Miata out of it. You know, it'd probably be really expensive. I bet those because it's a custom head, like it's super.
But it'd be like a retro new tuner car, but like those are cool.
I like really neat.
I like those kind of like style when people do that. It's very impressive.
I was looking at OfferUp. And I just gotta say, found some pretty funny shit on there.
Oh yeah.
I found a Suzuki Samurai.
That's cool.
88 4x4, but it has Mercedes badges all over it. And I literally just looked at the photo and I was like, oh, it's like GLA. But no, they just put Mercedes badges. Tell me that doesn't look like a little baby GLA.
They do. They look just like baby. What are they called? Galenda. G boxes, that's what I like to call them.
Yeah.
The new one, the Jimny, which kind of replaced that. There's a little company I saw. If we can find a photo and post it, I'll find it. But there's a company that does kind of upfitting for the little same kind of car. Suzuki still makes those little awesome little off-roaders. They have a new one called the Jimny overseas. Very tiny little thing. Awesome. Wish we got it here, but it looks just like a G-Wagon. And there's a company that'll actually upfit it with like kind of the same fascias and stuff. So you get the baby Mercedes. It's so awesome. Cute. They're fantastic.
I think Suzuki has been making a bunch of cool like little off-road cars. That's like their thing, and it's so cool. And it's not even specifically their thing, because I saw this Daihatsu Rugger Rocky Turbo Diesel 5-speed 92. Tell me that's not fucking sweet.
That's awesome.
I know, it's this matte black gray Daihatsu thing. It's done up like a Jeep, and it looks like a tiny little Land Rover or something.
Yeah, they're really cool. The baby little off-road cars the Japanese do.
So cool.
They're basically K cars, but
I mean they're bigger than K cars. Speaking of K cars, the fucking tiny little truck things, the K trucks. I was looking because we got them in the U.S. for whatever reason. It seems like the last car that Japan would ever bring to the U.S. is a K truck.
A little K, yeah.
But we got them, and I kind of really want one too.
I see them every once in a while. Like whenever there's little car dealerships around here where they'll have one as like their, not a parts truck, because like I don't know how it's registered on the road, but it's like they'll just drive between their dealerships with like tools and shit. Like they're tiny. Mm-hmm. I just think it's hilarious when you see that driving around on a big ass like car lot.
They have to be so cheap, right?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, if you get one that's already here versus like importing one versus one that was imported, and they were like, oh, we're gonna upcharge us because I know what I have, that kind of shit. Depends. Depends on what you can find. That one I like because it looks like it's an army truck, like a U.S. Army.
Yeah, they did it up. This one's $3,000, but I believe they're cheaper. Oh, this one's also 4-wheel drive, so that's kind of cool.
That's pretty impressive.
Think about maybe in the future, but with their YouTube channel, what if we bought 2 of those and we did them up how each of us wanted to do them up? Oh, that'd be
fantastic.
And then we like had a tiny little truck competition, or maybe we together we like build up little drift trucks, but like the K trucks, and then we tandem drift together, and we can't of course drift with anybody else because they'll run us over, but that'd be crazy.
That'd be awesome.
And I think it'd be really cheap, and like the engines are tiny.
That'd be great to do
literally
like an
600cc.
Oh yeah, they're.
Or an overlanded, that'd be great. Yeah. We make sure we get all-wheel drive ones, because they make plenty of all-wheel drive ones.
Most of them I've seen in the U.S. are. Yeah. I saw a 2-wheel drive one with a 3-cylinder turbo drifting in Japan. God, that was great. It's on like a little wet back road and something like that.
I more people need to do that. I feel like that's an untapped car.
Yeah,
like
it's one of those in the U.S. at least.
Yeah,
we don't have much of that. Just because it's like weird and different, people don't see it that much.
I don't know. It looks like it'd be.
I also don't know what the average person sees when they see it on the street. What do they think? Like, what the hell is that? Why is there an ATV? Why is there a Kawasaki? Why is there a Kawasaki mule?
Why is there a mule? No, I mean, that's. What do you think of that, Skylar? That's what we were just talking about. The tiny little trucks. This one has like a cover on the back, and they're not all painted camo, but like imagine that.
It looks like it should just be used at like a warehouse facility. Like they're not meant for the road.
That is where they
actually where they get used most
in
of the time.
U.S.
Yeah.
In Japan,
I don't know if they can be road legalized. I think they can be road legalized, as far as I know.
I think they're completely road legal.
I think they are. I think they're.
I don't know how well they do on the freeway. I don't know.
Not well. They might be registered as an ATV.
They might be registered. There's a classification for low speed vehicles.
Yeah.
I think it's like an LSV thing, and they're allowed to go kind of, I guess, everywhere a moped goes. You know, not on the freeway.
It's the same thing, not on the highway.
Yeah. So
top speed of 50. I think
I don't know what these are.
It also depends on how they get modified when they come in. If they are imported legitimately through DOT, through NHTSA,
I feel like
how that goes.
I've seen too many of these for them to just be imported. I believe they were brought on the U.S. as like a factory import. I do not think people. Some people definitely do bring them over as like a thing they import from
ones,
Japan.
Like the old Subaru ones, stuff like that.
There's ones that got brought here and ones that didn't. I really don't know what's there with that, but I feel like they have to have been brought over here as like legitimate. They might have just been sold as fleet vehicles or to companies. I feel
that's
like
what I'm thinking, yeah.
Person.
It's hard to find them, but they're not terribly priced.
No,
thank you, OfferUp, which is like what Facebook Marketplace used to be to Craigslist, but now it's like what OfferUp is to Facebook Marketplace.
I need to get on Facebook Marketplace.
Facebook Marketplace it's very hit or miss, but it's always hilarious. Craigslist started charging people money to post stuff. That's why no one uses it.
Yeah, unfortunate because they were.
It was really good when I sold my Genesis though, because I was the only one with a post for that car. So hey,
the shit I saw on Craigslist was a gold mine of just super weird.
Yeah, especially because it's free and they go, I have this thing, I don't know what it is, I'm gonna post it.
Oh yeah, it's like one photo and it's like really shitty, and then a thumb's covering it, but it's like a car you've never seen before.
It's like a Ford Ranger with like a Mustang front end, that kind of shit. You know?
Do you remember when I saw that? It was a Beetle, but it was put on top of a Silverado chassis. Or like a C10 chassis. I can't remember.
Shit cars
and I was like, what the fuck is this? He wanted so much money for it too. I was like, pass.
Dude, people are insane.
But
what they want for stuff.
It was hilarious. I was like, oh my god.
I one time posted my Golf on a whim because I was like, I just want to see what this is worth. And one guy on Facebook Marketplace, he's like, that car is too much money. And I was like, then don't fucking buy it. Anyway, that's just me complaining. Any more from OfferUp?
No, that's all I've got from OfferUp. But I didn't show you the photo, but this is on Copart.
Off-road Gen Coupe.
But it's an off-road Gen Coupe. They lifted it and they have a little roof rack and all this and that. There's
a guy, if you go look up on YouTube, if you go look up off-road Genesis Coupe, there's a guy and his friend who it's like one of them's got a 350Z, I believe. One of them's got a Gen Coupe, and they're all done up to be kind of like these semi-Dakar looking cars, and they're just standard like civilian car versions of it, but they are fantastic. They're like driving it over dunes, doing all this kind of stuff, and they're super cool. Like some of them have no doors, stuff like that. It's one of those kind of cars that someone's done it to, and I really wanted to do that, but I was like, ooh, it might ruin my car. But they are cool as shit.
The sale date for this is long past, but this is a screenshot. So at this moment in time where I took the screenshot, there was 17 hours left. On the bid, and the bid was $52.
Damn.
So I hope
it is kind of mangled, but I hope someone did get it.
It's in pretty bad shape. You know what? Well, I'll make sure to send you all these photos, and we'll put them all on.
Yeah, we'll get
the Instagram,
posted, which we're behind on again, but it's fine.
Whatever. What you gonna do?
Yeah, we'll get better, hopefully. Anyway, like our upload schedule, so great. Anyway, yeah, so that's coming out, or that'll be we'll try doing that. I digress. All right, I got a question for you.
Go for it.
There's any car you can import.
Okay.
By that I mean less than 25 years old, kind of like a new car, like something that's currently produced.
Less than 25. Okay.
Well, basically one you couldn't import legally.
Okay.
A new car that's out now. What would you bring over? Just one. I know you're gonna say like T-Verse cigars, but technically that's not in production anymore. So currently in production.
Sorry. Dude, I don't know. I really don't. I just like I feel like I don't. When I'm looking at cars, I don't tempt myself to look at those because I'm like, I'm just gonna be sad.
Yeah.
Oh, I swear to God, there's probably a lot. I've been looking at a lot of Suzuki's stuff.
Yeah.
And they make a bunch of cool little off-road things. I would be really tempted to import one of those.
The Jimny would be the best one, I think, from Suzuki. They had another car called the Celery, cool. Which is the names they give their cars.
Suzuki names are really good.
It's Suzuki Swift, Suzuki Jimny, Suzuki Celery. An array of others.
Okay, yeah. Hold on. Let me look up Suzuki names.
Just look up their name. For me, it would be the Fiat Panda 4x4.
That's
cross.
That's cool. I don't know why we're on the topic of all-wheel or like.
I just like that car so much. It's kind of funny because you brought up the other thing, but I was thinking the other day, I was like, I had a Fiat 500 and it was okay. It's just like I don't really get behind the whole retro thing, and like you can normally do more with car styling. I think it looks great. Especially the facelifted versions, although we're not getting the newest one for whatever reason. I mean, they're not selling well. Gas is so cheap right now, especially. But anyway, I think they're good-looking cars. They handle decently well. It's the same chassis as a Panda, but I think the Panda's cooler because it's like 4 seats, bigger car, more interesting looking, kind of different, little funny like squircle design with it. But then you get a 4x4 like with real 4-wheel drive. And all this other off-road stuff, and that's what I've had. You've just started laughing.
Pandas.
What is it?
I just started looking at these names. Okay, Alto, pretty normal.
Yeah.
Espresso is another one.
Nice.
Celerio.
Celerio?
Yeah. So it's probably the celery thing that you're thinking of.
Oh, maybe it's not celery. Anyway.
But, I mean, it sounds like celery. Might
Close
as well
enough.
call it. Ignis. That's kind of a weird name. The Swift Sport. The Desire, the Baleno, Vitaria, SX4,
yeah.
all new Jimny, Ciaz, APV, Ertiga, and the Carry. Oh, they still make like a little K truck.
Yeah, they still make little K cars.
Sorry,
that's Suzuki car names, by the way.
I laughed at the Espresso.
My favorite was the Suzuki Cappuccino. That's also a great name.
Yes.
They don't make that anymore.
Yeah, historically they've been the best at naming cars.
Yes. But it's also like, you take that two ways. If you see it as like a fun thing, you know, what do you drive? Suzuki Cappuccino, like it's funny.
Yeah.
But like, could you imagine like, pull up to X place, say you're on a date or whatever, they go, oh, what do you drive? I drive a Suzuki. I drive a Celery.
Celery.
You know what I mean? It doesn't really roll off the tongue like a Genesis or a BMW.
No, it's a Suzuki is a car that you can't flex in. You know what I mean?
It's for fun.
You're not going to be impressing anybody in a Suzuki, but you know
they can be cool cars. Or the other one, Kazashi. What fucking kind of name?
The Kazashi.
Is that? It sounds like one of those things. You know, it's like in old comics that there's like bang, pow. It sounds like one of the things Kazashi or something like that.
I have to say, Suzuki's got probably my favorite car names.
Yeah, they've always been hilarious.
I don't think there's a company that can compare. But like, and the Espresso, by the way, it's called. I'm not saying espresso. It's the letter S dash presso.
Comedy.
So
comedy. God, the Japanese are
they're good.
Hilarious.
And like, if you look at all these cars, a lot of them are like these tiny little like SUV looking like crossover things. They're really cool.
Fantastic.
Again, and the Jimny. Oh my god.
God,
what a car!
It's awesome. They wouldn't sell them here. That's the only problem. I think they would. If you get like the little off-roader ones, definitely.
Look at this photo shoot. They're like in the rocks and shit.
That's amazing.
God damn.
Yeah, car marketing. That's fantastic.
Suzuki.
I really like when car companies kind of go off the rails and do that sort of thing. It's my favorite. Again, with the naming, it's 10 out of 10.
There's probably something I'd rather import than a fucking Jimny, but I really can't think of it now.
They're just so like such great cars.
They're cool.
You may or may not want to cut this out that I'm about to say, but anyway. Here's something uninteresting that's going with the name of it.
Oh, let's hear it.
So a long time ago, me and a friend of mine from Germany, we were watching television, and BMW commercial came up, and it plays through the commercial, and then at the end of all car commercials, it's got the bump. It like says like the brand name and then like their slogan or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like BMW's is like sheer driving pleasure, or this is basically the same in German. It's a little bit different, but it doesn't really matter. But it has this like weird like electronic noise it plays. It's like da 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 da, that kind of thing. It sounds like Windows XP logging off. But I do remember we were looking and she was like, "That's weird. That's different." We came to realize that apparently they changed their. This is so fucking boring. I don't know what. I was just like, anyway. Again, completely uninteresting, but they changed the noise they used to make on their old commercials, which we used to just go dung dung, and then we were like, I was like, because I remember that as a child, but I don't really remember the American ads.
Okay.
And she was like, "Wait, is that like a U.S. thing?" And then we started diving through it. We found out they had just like changed the noise, and it so doesn't matter. But I just thought it was weird. Again, like car marketing. David and I were watching a video earlier, and I was picking out all the different things between the Golf 8 commercial in Germany and the Golf 8 commercial in the U.S.
Yeah.
And just how they change things based on the market and how it works like that. But it's just little things like that. And then I remember thinking so Hyundai's really going in with their N performance division, like they're marketing for that. There's so many videos on the new Veloster Coupe, which also kind of cool. They have a DCT version. It's a wet clutch DCT, like a motorcycle, which is interesting.
Very interesting.
And it's got a lot of stuff on it. It looks like it's gonna be really cool. They updated the seats, power stuff. Great little car. But then Hyundai has like a new thing on the end of the commercials where it's like a piano, like da 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 da, and I'm like, I like that. Like I don't know why, like I tie that to things. Again, really emphasizing the uninteresting portion of this
when
podcast.
you said that, like dun dun, I thought of the SVU, like criminal unit.
Not like dun 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 dun. No, it's not that bad. I'll show you after we're done recording, but I just remember like, oh, that's something very out of the blue. I just remembered because I saw that Hyundai ad and I was like, oh, that's kind of...
I just looked up a list of like cars that we don't get in the U.S. And
God, it's going to be huge.
Well, yeah, but like just like interesting ones that we wish we got in the U.S. So what is it? 10 awesome cars we don't get in America.
Here we go.
So, because I was needing inspiration. I know there's something out there better than the Jimny, although it is a fantastic car.
Amazing.
No, it is definitely high on the list. But I totally forgot about this car, the new Alpine.
Oh yeah, the
A110.
fucking Alpine A110.
That
thing's great.
It's cool.
Again, if we get French cars here, that's more of an expensive car. It's a hard thing.
It is expensive.
It's not as expensive as an Alpha 4C, which is way overpriced.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of car. That one could be really cool. I know James May
bought one.
What
do you think looks better, this or the 4C?
Ooh, that's hard.
Right?
Because I think for looks, the 4C is really good looking.
This is also really good looking, and it reminds me of the original Alpine.
The thing is, I kind of don't like when they do the semi-retro styling.
You don't? I think it works really well.
I think they've done it well. But I'm just like, it always feels to me when someone does it, it's like a crutch. It's not
like half-assed.
Yeah, I understand you want to keep remnants, like, Mustangs have the little like slats on the DRLs, which is like the slats on the body of the original Mustang on the inside near the grill. Like, I get all that, I like that kind of thing, but it's also like, don't just base your styling on retro stuff. Like, every car company did that around 2008. Like, I remember that retro Mustang, that semi-retro Camaro when it came out.
Cruiser, PT Cruiser, Thunderbird that came out. Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. We went through a whole thing in the U.S. of trying to do that.
And I mean, now they look like crap, basically.
Yeah, now they look horrible. They've aged really poorly. Yeah. But the new ones, because they haven't done that, I think car design should evolve.
The thing is, I feel like if you didn't know that this was based on an older car, you wouldn't guess that they were trying to do something
That's
retro.
the thing. I was going to say, I don't know.
What I mean? Actually, I don't know. The circular headlights, those, they definitely do. And like that,
very nice,
there's a crease down the center that is like not
the back
really
of that car
present.
looks really nice as well. That's a hard one. I'd say I think that's a better car, not having driven either of them. But I did talk to a journalist, and he was like, he had a 4C on test, and he was like, that car doesn't work on the road. It's just too hard.
Really?
Like, it's too sport based and stuff, and it doesn't weigh anything and all this stuff. It's very rattly, but it's a very good sports car.
Yeah.
I think if I were to buy one with money, I'd have the Alpine. But I really do like the 4C. It's a very pretty car.
These are really light too, 2,400 pounds, and they have like a turbo 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people, especially in America, if this car ever came, would be like, why would I pay so much for a car with a turbocharged 4-cylinder?
It's a Lotus problem.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you don't get it.
Yeah.
It's not about the engine. You know what I mean? The engine's part of like this unit that
if
is
you're talking
the
about
Alpine.
power, just leave it at that.
And I mean, the Alpine, the original A110 was just like super about like lightness. It was super light, tiny engine again. But this is like I feel like a real continuation of that car, and I think
it's
looks
the same
great.
like not design premises, but it's the same kind of like thought process to make it there.
Yeah, same energy.
yeah, same energy, definitely. That Alpine is very, very cool.
Yeah, so that would actually probably be up there, although I do not think I would be able to afford one. But
they're like 50, I think they're 60K, something like 60, 65. They're a lot of money for what it is. Like, I will say that.
Yeah.
Because it's still, it is like, it's a 4-cylinder, but the thing is, it's like, for the amount of money, what could you get otherwise? There's Porsches, but I'd rather have that than a Porsche. It's more interesting. It's nicer looking.
Well, it's like the Elise problem is like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know, the Elise is really not that good of a deal, especially if Toyota still made the MR2, but they don't. But
Yeah, and if they bring the MR2 back, that's gonna be a hard sell for Lotus.
Yeah,
especially value for money, which I heard they might, but we'll see. Any other cars on that list? Don't get in the US.
Sorry, I just saw that Alpine, and I was like, this is all I will ever need.
Yeah.
Oh, the Honda S660.
Oh, I sat in one of those. There's one here at the Lane Motor Museum. It's a great place. I think it's in Tennessee. I've been there a couple of times.
I know you like this car.
If you ever go there, go there.
Yeah.
I like the Beam. Not the Beam. What is it called?
The Beam.
Not the Bean. What is it? The
Honda Beam.
Beat. The Honda Beat's a great car. Yeah. I really wanted to import one of those for a long time until I realized how fucking small it is. That's definitely another weekend car, I think. Those are awesome. The S660 is a great looking car. I've always loved the little sporty Hondas like that. Key cars we don't get here. It's one of those things. But what else is on that list on whatever website?
There's the Subaru Levorg.
The Levorg's cool.
STI Sport. I've never heard of this car.
They don't do the hatch
looks like
STI.
an obese.
Yeah,
legacy.
it's the design's a little weird. It's basically not a hatch, STI. It's basically a wagon version. But we don't get it here. We have that body style on the Impreza. It's like a hatchback. Looks really great. The Levorg version is a new one that it's kind of the hot one that we don't have. We just have the normal naturally aspirated one.
This is I don't know. Some of these are like variants of existing cars, and it's like cool, but like give me something like really OG. If I were to import something, I wouldn't get something that's like 90% of
a car that we have here. Because theoretically, if you really wanted to, and I've thought about doing it. One of those cool build ideas, like I'll write down occasionally, is like taking one of those very good looking, I think, current generation. Impreza hatchbacks, because you can get a manual and all-wheel drive it and whatever, but you can basically buy it. It's different, but it is basically the same. Underneath it's an Impreza as the WRX and STI, even though they are technically their own chassis. People have done swaps. People have swapped the Crosstrek put all the STI guts in it, made an STI Crosstrek, which is really cool to me, I think, too.
Yeah.
But again, it's the same Crosstrek and the Impreza, same car. Crosstrek's just a lifted version of the hatchback, so I was like, that could be a really cool thing, because it's like they don't make the hatch anymore. I really liked the hatch when it came out. I thought it was a really cool car. A guy one time bought the wheels that I had some extra wheels or some kind of part for my my Legacy I had a set of STI wheels off a newer Impreza or WRX, and then I was going to put them on there. He came and bought them for his car, but that he showed up at one. I was like, that is cool, because I hadn't seen one in a person in a very long time.
Yeah,
and I was like, he's like, yeah, I just picked it up.
That's
I hate the wheels on it, and he was like kind of unmodifying it. I was like, that is a very cool car. So like, I would absolutely build like that, but I don't think I'd import a Levorg.
That'd be fun.
What else?
This is again kind of similar to a car that already exists, the Seat Leon Cupra R.
Okay, Seat Leon Cupra is just a Golf.
Yeah, it is.
It's different. It's Spanish.
It looks pretty cool.
It looks great.
It looks pretty fucking spicy. Do you see all those like bronze orange?
Yeah,
detailing?
the Seat has their own like whole
they
thing
look
going
pretty
on there.
Sweet. Renault Megane RS.
Renault Megane.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck the friend. Mercedes C-Class Estate. Okay, we don't get estate cars here.
Well, we get the 3 Series, and that's better.
So, what you gonna do? Audi SQ7.
I think that's coming, though. Pretty sure that's on the way.
RS4 Avant.
Yeah, that'd be nice to have a fast
cool.
Audi hatch.
It'd be cool.
I think the RS6 Avant's coming.
Oh, this is a variant of a car that I would actually consider importing. Yeah. The Alfa Romeo Giulia manual.
Oh, the manual?
The manual one.
Wait, the Quattrofoglio?
Like yeah.
Because I think you can get a manual Quattrofoglio in the U.S.
Okay.
But you can't get the rest one. Okay, I could be wrong. I don't know. For some reason, I thought like we only got... It's one of those weird things where, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, which it seems like I am. But
I have no idea.
Like for the M5, the V10 E60 M5, the only manuals were like sold in the U.S. Mm-hmm. But the only ones you get in like Germany or whatever were the flappy paddle ones, which I find very weird.
I hear that you can't get any manual Giulias in the U.S.
I thought it was only the normal ones, but I could be wrong.
I have no idea. Okay, I actually really don't know what this lineup's like.
The new GTA is fantastic. It's got that huge spoiler. I think I showed you. It's got the insane grills. That's an impressive.
But I'd want like a V6 one of those with a manual. That'd be cool. Really cool.
I
would actually consider importing that, even though that is similar to an existing car.
In that configuration, that is an M3 killer.
Yeah.
That is an impressive car. I
mean,
it won't last past 30,000 miles, but
I really like
cool.
the wheels that Alpha does with like
Me
the
too.
circular stuff.
Yeah.
I always thought that looked really cool. Just as a side note,
I really like what Alpha's doing.
Alphas look cool. I can't.
We might be getting some more in the future, I've heard. So
more
I think they're updating some of their lineup. The Giulia is a great looking car. Just not that many people are buying it because it's like, well, why'd you get this? And over like a BMW or a Mercedes, it's hard to get up there in a market that you haven't been in for like 50 years.
Yeah,
since the 80s or whatever.
But I mean, I feel like
the 90s. But
I feel like there's like two kind of people. There's like people that don't know about Alpha, right? It didn't strike luxury with them. It doesn't strike like mediocrity,
Yeah.
And then there's the people who know about Alpha and they know what it is. They know it's a luxury brand. They know what it means. What an Alpha is.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's either they just have to be known, and I think that reputation will follow.
Yeah, exactly. The other problem is where the money's at, like in the American public right now. Mm-hmm. Really, like where the people who can afford cars like that are normally people who saw Alpha, Fiat, whatever, at their lowest point in the U.S. when they were just making crap. And I think we're still not quite to the point where I think like millennials are, I think, getting to the point where they're having enough money to buy these cars. Mm-hmm. And then so it's like, well, what is it? They kind of, I think that's kind of the biggest issue they're facing. Because I think our generation, being Gen Z and being a lot younger, I think it's like we're past that, which means like theoretically, if you brought a French car to the U.S., you could go, it's French, it's different, it's cool.
Yeah.
And people will be like, oh wow, that's cool, I'll try that out.
Yeah.
Not having known that in the 70s, 80s, whatever, they were making pieces of shit. Mm-hmm. I mean, they really weren't. It's just rust proofing didn't work in the U.S. A harsher climate, stuff like that. They didn't do as well. Stuff like that, that they really had problems with. So I think once they kind of get past that generational thing, they'll start having a lot more success. I hope. I really don't want to see them go again after they've just been back. Yeah. Especially it's really cool.
Is Suzuki out of the U.S. market?
I'm still unclear on that.
I don't know.
Because I know for a while they were selling... They've got like a GM tie-in, I think it's with General Motors, and for a while they were selling Colorados, the baby trucks, when it first came back out.
Mm-hmm.
Or when it came out. I think they were selling them as like Frontier or something. It had some separate name.
Suzuki ends U.S. car sales.
What
this
year?
is from 2012.
Yeah, okay, it was a while ago. Could be wrong, but
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they're on the way out.
Unfortunate. Again, we were just saying how Suzuki makes some pretty cool cars. I don't know the quality. I don't know the reliability. I just look at the names and I look at the cars and I'm like, that is a fun car.
Yeah, all I know is, especially with that, is anyone I've seen abroad, like in continental Europe or the UK, reviewing this, especially cars like the Swift, they love them. Yeah. Because it's like they're made in such a way, they're really reliable. They're fun little cars. And they always say it's kind of like when comparing it to like a Mini or something like that, they're like, this is a car you would drive every day. And it's fun every day. Yeah. Where it's like, a Mini's kind of like, it's a bit like it's supposed to be nicer, but the like Suzuki's super tossable. I remember watching a video. I don't remember if it was like I don't remember if it was part of a car show and they were like doing a bit with it, which it might have been, or if it was like an actual ad from Suzuki, but it's just like a Suzuki Swift driving through the window of a dealership and it's shattering. It's just all this crazy marketing stuff, and it's a really cool car, and I do wish we had that here. Technically we did in the 90s, because technically the Geo Metro was a Suzuki Swift, but we didn't get any hot ones or stuff like that, and the ones we got here were shit.
Yeah,
and looking at them
twice
now,
at a Metro.
The way cars have just gone on in age, they're still far back there. There's actually a neighbor in my parents' neighborhood who still has an original 80s era, the boxier one, Suzuki what is it? A Geo Metro, like sedan or a hatchback 4-door little thing. Basically a Suzuki Swift, case in point, with whatever 3-cylinder, naturally aspirated. He drives it every day. He has had it since new.
I feel like I don't know what that 80s one looked like.
It's a little more square than the
I see it,
one. Yeah. But he still has one of those, same color, original car, still drives it every day. I think that's amazing when people keep cars like that, especially cars like that. But hey, it's a Suzuki Swift, so theoretically it should go forever. Yeah. And I think we're going to end there with the demise of Suzuki, unfortunately, in the U.S. market.
What a sad point to end on.
We brought a lot of stuff up today.
We did. Again, like rapid fire, like you heard of the Lotto, you heard of this. Suzuki's got some cool names.
We had a bunch of again, like I said, we had a bunch of stuff stopped up from previous things. Same things. We're going to keep trying to post to Instagram, better at Uninteresting Cars. Go follow us there. Hopefully we'll start posting more personal stuff of our cars, anything we're doing just to make it more interesting. We've got that coming. We've kind of been saving an automation video for a little while, just kind of while we were working on this other type of format we were trying out. So we've got that coming soon. Go check out our video podcast version. First one we've done, we just tried it out, gave it a quick run. Tell us what you think. Content-wise, we're kind of like, it's a little boring.
We understand that it is perhaps not the most interesting, but I would like to know if other people think the format's any good, because I think the format has potential.
I think it has potential. I think we can maybe at some point move to replacing it. We might do some more like actual in-person videos. You see our big dumb faces and things like that, but we might do some more of that coming here in a while. We just finished finals, so we'll see what's going on. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. We'll catch you next week. I'm Jacob.
I'm David.
Goodbye.
Volvo, Volvo, ja, och min Volvo 142.
So say something to make me laugh.
You're a little bitch.
Fuck off.
I can't believe that worked.
I don't know. Oh, that was you bitch. What a fucking wussy way to say that, you motherfucker.
What?
Hyundai N, their kind of performance division, they're actually going to make a lot more.
Scalar needs toilet paper.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to this in a second.